A very good afternoon to one and all. I, Ruby Gill, welcome all the attendees and our prestigious speakers on behalf of lovely professional university for today's webinar on the topic Post-Pandemic Scenario Spotlight on Elite Medical Sciences. So attendees today, you'll savor a feast of knowledge from our favored speakers. So allow me to introduce them. Dr. Monica Gulati, Executive Dean, School of Pharmaceutical Sciences and Registrar, lovely professional university. She has been very instrumental in research when it comes to education. Having completed her B Pharmacy and Pharmacy and PhD from UIPS, Punjab University, Chandigarh, Dr. Gulati has more than 25 years of teaching, industry, research and administrative experience. Her research forte is enhancing bioperformance of drug molecules, phytochemicals and probiotics, mechabiotics and other therapeutics using conventional and novel dosage forms, especially in the area of colon targeting. She holds a keen interest in the quality control parameters of delivery systems. She has, to her credit, more than 150 high-impact publications and 15 invited book chapters with an H index of 28 and an RG score of 39.43. She has been granted 4 Indian patents and 3 Australian patents as well. She is on the editorial and review board of more than 25 journals. So, ma'am, it's our privilege to have you on board with us today. Thank you so much for joining. Additionally, I would like to welcome our admission expert, Mr. Pankaj Vij, Assistant Director, Head, Department of Tie-ups, Division of Admissions, lovely professional university. With master's degree in management, he has a keen interest in the area of training and development. He's having more than 20 years of experience in multiple domains, including teaching, training, and operations. He has occupied strategic positions in multiple organizations of repute. Today, he'll give you an insight of eligibility, fee, and scholarship, which I'm sure will make you save a lot of money. And in addition to that, he'll also be sharing the infrastructure part of the university. So thank you, sir, for joining us today. And with this, we'll begin our today's webinar. So over to you, Dr. Monica Gulati, ma'am, for the content of the day.
So, dear friends, the organizers have given me the responsibility today to talk about the spotlight which has suddenly shifted to the allied medical sciences field also after the unfortunate pandemic of COVID-19. If you ask me, the professions which we are going to talk about, which are known as the applied medical professions or allied medical professions, which include, anything which is apart from nursing, dentistry, and medicine, but is focused on the patient welfare or the societal welfare, have always been contributing a lot to the society. But suddenly, because of the needs which arose specifically during the pandemic situation, the spotlight shifted to all these professions because they were the ones who turned out to be the saviors in such a difficult situation. So today we are going to talk about the professions of physiotherapy, then medical laboratory sciences, pharmacy, and then Ayurvedic pharmacy. So suddenly, because of the pandemic, when number one, diagnostics became very important. Number two, many people developed certain reactions to the medicines. You might have heard about the black fungus tragedy also, which arose because of the medicines actually. And then, we all wanted to boost our immunity. Suddenly, there was a huge demand for certain medicines initially, then vaccine also, and so on. So, suddenly because of all this, the spotlight it shifted from the doctors and nurses, which of course, were so busy and so burnt out because of so much pressure on them, that it shifted to the allied medical professions also. And let me share with you, it may come across as something fortunate or unfortunate, but during this time, while the salaries of the people who were working in certain other areas, they were drastically reduced, or you can say that even many people lost their jobs also. These professions were the ones wherein salary was hiked more than ever before, because there was a sudden need for people. So one by one, I will discuss the UG and the PG programs in all these four fields, and I'll be happy to answer any questions if there are any at the end. So first we'll talk about the program of physiotherapy. We have undergraduate programs as well as postgraduate programs. Now, physiotherapy is a therapy, as the name suggests. It is a treatment plan which does not utilize any drugs. So believe me, the patient gets cured without the intake of any medicines. It is purely dependent upon the exercises, the modalities, and so on. So nothing actually goes inside the body of the patient. So if we talk of the UG program, we have BPT. BPT means the Bachelor's in Physiotherapy. It is basically a 4.5 years program. Eight semesters are there for teaching and 6 semesters are there for the compulsory rotatory internship. Now, why do we call it rotatory internship? Because the student must rotate amongst the various key departments of a hospital. Because when the student graduates, he or she is supposed to have a very good knowledge of all the specializations wherein physiotherapy can prove to be effective, right? So BPT is, as I shared with you, 4.5 years course. But if we talk of BPT lateral entry, in this case, what we generally do is, it is allowed by the Association of Physiotherapists also. Any person who has, any student who has completed his or her diploma in physiotherapy, we respect the time he or she has already spent on learning. So we directly admit that child into the second year. So though it is a 8 semester plus 6 months course only, but the child gets a direct entry into the third semester. Therefore, it reduces by 1 year, and it becomes 3.5 years diploma in physiotherapy. Regarding the postgraduate programs, we will talk about, orthopedics, which is one of the most popular programs, because most of the people, especially in the geriatric age group, the older patients, the players, the people who work for very long hours on computers, certain people who have certain professional demands which makes them do the repetitive kind of activity. So they all need physiotherapy of muscles and bones. So therefore orthopedics remains as one of the most popular choice. Then we talk of neurology. These are the cases wherein neuro patients are the patients who, though the but the treatment length is very, very long, especially with the increasing incidence of Alzheimer and Parkinsonism, which earlier used to happen in very old patients. The incidences are now shifting to the younger patients also, and for the children, very unfortunate CP, cerebral palsy condition is there, and so on. So these patients almost require lifelong kind of treatment. And neurology, physiotherapy neurology, or PT neurology as we call it, again becomes a very, very dedicated profession. Now, many of you might have heard about, the cardiopulmonary complications of COVID-19, which occurred after the patient has had infection. But unfortunately, it also occurred in the people who had not caught the infection but got vaccinated. So in both the cases, since the exposure to the antigen was there, so there have been many patients wherein the respiratory and cardiac problems, pulmonary means lungs, wherein the respiratory and the cardiac problems have occurred. So MPT physiotherapy in cardiopulmonary specialization would be, allowing the patients to be treated without any drugs for their respiratory conditions as well as cardiac conditions. Now, another very important part of cardiopulmonary MPT is that the persons who are going to undergo any kind of cardiac or vascular or pulmonary surgery, and they have already undergone also. And for example, a patient has undergone bypass. So before the bypass surgery also and after the bypass surgery also, or if a patient has undergone, partial removal of lungs before the surgery, after the surgery, or if any vascular surgery is to be done, for example, patient has undergone any kind of accident and the tissue needs to be stitched, wherein vascular damage has been there also before and after. So pre-surgical and post-surgical treatments are given by the physiotherapists, which would actually enhance the outcome of the surgery. So that is a very, very important aspect of cardiopulmonary surgery. Then, of course, we come to sports. I'm very happy to share. In fact, after I complete my presentation, the other resource person, he would also be sharing with you about the sports achievements that we've had in this last Olympics also. Just to share with you, Neeraj Chopra is an alumnus of our university, one thing. Second thing, he was supported by his physiotherapist. You might not be aware that most of the sports persons of world level, world class level, they generally have their own personal physiotherapists, either for their own purpose or their sports authorities, they provide them with the physiotherapists who take care of every small thing about their efficiency, their illnesses, any kind of deficiency at any place. So Neeraj Chopra's physiotherapist is also our alumnus. So our students and our alumni, they have been doing wonderfully well in the sports arena also, either as sports persons also and their support system also. And then for the children, the babies and the children below the age group of 12, their treatment generally, you might be aware, their treatment is generally very different from that of the adults. So we have a specific specialization in pediatrics, pediatric MPT, wherein the conditions which are specific to the children are taken care of. So as I shared with you, this I've already shared. It is 4.5 years long, and initially we provide them with the theoretical knowledge and the practical knowledge about the various body systems. How do they work? What happens when they get sick? When the normal physiology gets altered, what are the things that happen? And then right in their fifth semester, we start with the clinical exposure. In fact, right in the first semester, we give them 1 or 2 short stints of clinical exposure so that they are mentally prepared, they understand the seriousness of the profession, that they are handling the human lives. So a few short or brief kind of visits are arranged to the medical facilities just to impart seriousness about the sanctity about the profession. And then from the fifth semester, they start visiting the hospital so that they start gaining knowledge about the clinical nuances which are to be administered to them, and so that their clinical acumen gets honed properly. Another thing I would like to share here is that the syllabi which are created, which are being administered to the students, They match the international standards in the sense that many of our children who complete their graduation and post-graduation, they go and, Canada and Australia are very huge destinations for our children. So the curriculum is also mapped with the with those of the institutes of international repute, and then it is also recognized by the Indian Association of Physiotherapy. And now we have a small guidance document by the Ministry of Health and Family Welfare. So all these three things are being taken care of: Ministry of Health document, Indian Association of Physiotherapists, and international universities. Looking at the needs of all these three, the curricula have been created. And then in the multi-speciality hospitals with which we have very strong associations and our own three clinics, they are the destination for the children for their 6 months multi-speciality rotatory internship that I have been talking again and again. Masters of Physiotherapy program is shorter, it is 2 years duration. And as I shared with you, we have different specializations. So in this case, after the child has undergone the overall learning of all the specializations in the undergraduate courses, in the PG course, we focus mainly on the one specialization, so that apart from having the overall knowledge of all the domains, the student also acquires expertise in a particular area, wherein he or she can recommend or consult over and above the regular kind of physiotherapists. So he or she has one particular specialization. Another very typical aspect of MPT is that in the second year of MPT, the student is given a research project also, wherein he or she works on certain clinical problems, works on the patients, so learns how to handle the patients. The public dealing also is understood, and actually the clinical practice starts. So again, in this, as I shared with you, advanced practical skills are administered in the cases of orthopedic, neurology, sports, cardiopulmonary, and pediatric conditions. If we talk of the career opportunities for physiotherapists, of course, by now you might have already understood that hospitals would be very happy to take the physiotherapist, especially, those hospitals where regular OPD, I mean, medicine and surgery both are practiced, because physiotherapy is definitely going to improve the outcomes of any treatment, whether it is a medical treatment or it is a surgical treatment, because it is going to, apart from being a standalone kind of treatment option, it is also a supportive kind of treatment option if the medical treatment or surgical treatment is being given. Then, you can also join the universities and colleges wherein teaching is required. Then another option which is, very, very important as far as the society is concerned is that of the special schools. And believe me, special schools, they are paying almost twice or thrice the salary as compared to the regular schools, because the needs of these special children are very different. So special schools are the schools which are meant for special children. When we talk of special children, that means the children who have some special needs. For example, there is a compromise in the arm, or there is a compromise in the legs, or there is a compromise in the spine, or the patient is neurologically not all right. Even the CP children are sometimes sent to the special schools. So special schools need to employ physiotherapists, because the teachers, even if they are trained to handle the special children, they need the support of a physiotherapist all day long. So physiotherapists get a very good opportunity in special schools. Then, as I was talking about the specialization of sports in physiotherapy, sports industry also has to employ physiotherapists. The reason being, all the sports equipment, whether it is a table tennis racket, or it is a hockey, or it is a cricket bat or ball, or even the gym equipments, therein also we need to uh, design them so as to give the maximum leverage to the sports person. So for that they need to know how the bat will be held, how the racket should be held to give the maximum impact, and what would be able to give the maximum comfort to the player also. So sports industries also, who are into the manufacturing of sports goods, they also employ the physiotherapists. Then we talk of rehabilitation center. You might have already understood by the name rehabilitation. It means that once the patient has undergone any kind of treatment, particularly we talk about surgery in case of rehabilitation, or even when the patients have been treated to uh, overcome the drug addiction. So that is also rehabilitation, kind of rehabilitation centers. So the medical, the surgical, and psychological kind of rehabilitation centers, there also there is a strong need for the physiotherapists to ensure that rehabilitation is very, very proper and gives, and the patient is able to progress very quickly. So in the rehabilitation center, what we are trying to do is post-treatment, we are trying to ensure that the patient is able to go back to the normal lifestyle. So the physiotherapists have a very strong role to play here. Then we come to the government sector. So in the government sector, physiotherapists have multiple roles to play. Of course, they are hired for teaching. That is one government sector. They are hired for hospitals. Another opportunity in the government sector. They are also hired for the rehabilitation centers, which are very crucial for the socially relevant hospitals like tuberculosis. We have government owned TB hospitals, we have government owned malaria hospitals, cancer hospitals. So there also the physiotherapy treatment becomes very important, especially in these conditions. In case of TB, the patient would have the cardiorespiratory system compromised, so therein we need the assistance of a physiotherapist to bring back the patient to the same level. Then we have standalone kind of physiotherapy clinics also. You might have seen, certain openings wherein it is advertised that this is a physiotherapy clinic. So what they do is, there would be certain patients who don't want to go undergo, medical treatment. They don't like medicine, so they would just go there and get the treatment done. Or the smaller clinics, hospitals mostly employ their own uh, physiotherapists, but the clinics wherein the doctors are practicing, many of them are not able to afford it or do not have the expertise for it, so they would be referring the patient to a physiotherapy clinic, which is a standalone kind of clinic. So you can work there also, and then you can start your own clinic also, so it will fall under the private practice. Then coming to the fitness industry, we have already talked about the sports industry, but if we talk of fitness industry, all the gyms, you might have already heard about a few incidences, unfortunate incidences that happened while the person, some very iconic figures also, they were gymming and suddenly, the heart attack happened, and unfortunately we lost them. So now the fitness industry is, they are becoming very, very cautious that all the gymming or all the exercises, especially, the straining kind of exercises, they need to be done under the supervision of a specialist. So they are employing the physiotherapist now. Then talking of the corporate sectors, there are many industries like those of orthotics. Orthotics are the aids, like the artificial limb, like the braces we have, like the even the wristbands that the tennis players they generally wear. So all these orthotics, or you might have seen your grandparents wearing a support around the neck or around the waist. So all these are known as orthotics. So they, the people who are in orthotics, the orthotic industry, even the insurance industry, you see, insurance industry, in the insurance sector, before any insurance is done by the insurance company, they need to know that the health status of the patient is good. Otherwise, they will incur a lot of losses. So the health status needs to be ascertained, and not so many doctors are available. We all know that, especially now after pandemic, we all know that the number of doctors is much less as compared to the ideal numbers. So they will depend upon people like physiotherapists, like medical lab scientists, like pharmacists, to and give them an assurance that the health of the patient is good. And then in the end, of course, you can always enter into research in allied medical sciences is very strong all over the world, because we need to have newer treatments for upcoming different kinds of diseases all the time. Trainings, we have association with many hospitals. These are just a few glimpses. So you can see we have heart hospital, we have trauma centers, again trauma centers. This is neuro hospital, and this is ortho. So in NHS, this is a typically orthopedic hospital. Then maternity home, wherein we have gynecological issues and obstetric issues. And this is again I think Satyam is a typically a hospital that is that employs people who are strong experts in trauma handling. So all the accident patients you will see either in uh, Satyam or in Joshi hospital. So we have MOUs in place for all these hospitals. And this is something which is very exceptional with LPU. We have our own OPD services, and it is not at one place, it is at 3 places. So we have one in the campus. You can see this is the facility which is there inside the campus. So the physiotherapy department in the university campus has an OPD wherein a number of patients from surrounding regions, they come and get a treatment from the experts. Then this is the physiotherapy clinic for at Jalandhar. So this is a high-end kind of facility which is available. So here also we get a large number of patients from all over the city and beyond the city also. And this is the OPD at Phagwara. So we have 3 openings, 3 OPDs, one in the university, one in Jalandhar, and one in Phagwara. And then a lot of research is also going on. In fact, today also, 2 of our faculty members, they are at Indonesia, wherein they are sharing their research achievements and teaching pedagogy with the number of people from the international teams. We have in the audience people from Indonesia itself, Sri Lanka, some European countries also, and of course many Indian partners also. So a lot of research is also going on. As you can see, we have developed a device which will find out if there is any unsymmetry in the limbs. Many times we have a tendency to put more weight on the left leg or on the right leg, which actually somewhere disturbs the equilibrium of our body. So a device or an instrument has been created which basically tells you that now your posture is asymmetrical, so you should correct your posture. These are the international collaborations which are in place. You can see we have Indian as well as European universities. This is another feather in the cap of physiotherapy department. About 2.5 years back, a project from Erasmus, that is a European body, was received by us worth almost 9 crores, wherein we are the lead partners. That means we are imparting training to all the rest of the institutes, and these are the other institutes. Some are from India, some are from Indonesia, you can see some are from Sri Lanka, and some are from Europe. So this is the project which was received by the Faculty of Physiotherapy. Then we come to the programs of medical lab technology. In medical lab technology, again we have 3 years old, 3 years long course. So when we talk of BSc MLT, it is 3 years course. Similar pattern like lateral entry in VPT, we have here also the provision to take the child who has completed the diploma in MLT into right into the second year. So if the child has a diploma in MLT, the course remains to be only for 2 years, right? And you get a graduation degree apart from the diploma that you already have. Apart from that, we have master level programs which are clinically oriented. So we have MSc in clinical microbiology, MSc in clinical biochemistry, and this new program of clinical embryology was started by us last year only. So we have 3 postgraduate programs. So if we talk of the undergraduate program, we teach, as I told you, in BPT we teach the theory and practical aspects in the initial years, and then 6 months internship in the hospitals or diagnostic labs is mandatory for the hands-on experience, so that the child is able to handle the samples very efficiently. So the in-field training is given. The students are posted in hospitals and diagnostic labs, and again, just like physiotherapy, we have very strong tie-ups with hospitals and labs for this. And apart from this, we also offer various pathways. So the student can focus more on microbiology or biochemistry or hematology. Hematology, as you can see, is the science of blood. So blood disorders, whatever problems are there. So if the student is more interested there, he or she can take up also. Blood banking, histopathology, that you might have seen people take a tissue sometimes to find out what kind of disease is there. So that is basically the job of a histopathologist. And now after COVID, we all know about immunology. So these are the pathway courses which can be offered to the undergraduate medical lab technology students. And then they find jobs mainly for the diagnostic centers. So you might have heard about the Lal Path lab and certain other labs wherein we give the sample. The person will come right in the early morning because you want to give the sample empty stomach. So you might have heard of SRL people or Lal Path lab people or some other labs. So diagnostic labs are the major employers for the MLT students. Apart from that, many hospitals have their own labs. Rather than sending to the diagnostic labs, which are national or multinational labs, some hospitals prefer to have their own labs, so the students of medical lab technology can have jobs there. And then another thing is medical transcription and medical coding. Now, this is something which is very, very popular these days and became more popular actually after the COVID, because we, all of us, became very, very comfortable with the online systems. So in this case, what happens, the doctor is sitting probably in US or New Zealand, but is in touch with the professional here through the online system. So as he or she speaks to the patient, the person sitting here in India, in Aguada, at Lovely Professional University, can listen to what he is trying to say and what is he prescribing. So that is noted down, that is put into the computer, and then that is shared with the patient through the mail. And along with that, most of the times these people who are trained for this will have a one-to-one online meeting with the patient, and patient counseling will also be done by them as to when should he take the medicine, and with what it should be, with water or it should be, and how to use a particular kind of maybe inhaler or something, how to take the medicine and so on. Then they can also, there is a huge avenue for the medical lab scientists to go abroad, because there is an acute shortage of such professionals in Europe as well as US as well as Canada. So a number of our children, they go abroad after acquiring this degree. Then we have public health labs. You in the last slide previous to this, that the government sector has certain labs which are catering to TB and cancer and so on. So these labs, these hospitals have certain labs which are diagnostic labs attached to them, which are now they have become the public health labs. So there also they can find an opportunity. Then we go for blood testing or sputum testing, or you might have heard that whenever there is a pregnancy test to be done, there comes a kit. You just have to put the sample, when you want to check the sugar, you will just pierce the finger and put just a small drop of blood onto the kit, and it will tell you whether the patient is diabetic or not. So all these diagnostic kits, they are manufactured inside the country. They are uh, produced inside the country. Therefore, the people who have skills in the diagnostic purpose, they can have a job in the manufacturing of diagnostic kits also. Similarly, the biomedical instrumentation companies, they also hire our children. I've seen very commonly, both for technical role as well as sales role, because the student has handled the biomedical instruments throughout his or her graduation. So they know how to handle it, how to, rectify if there is any problem and so on. So they are engaged by the biomedical instrumentation labs or industry for both technical as well as sales and marketing profiles, because they know much more in depth as compared to any person who has never understood the body functioning. Then they also find placements in pharmaceutical, nutraceutical, and cosmeceutical companies. Now, you might ask me why? Because pharmaceutical, nutraceutical, and cosmeceutical companies should hire pharmacists. Why should they hire the medical lab technologists? They do. Why do they do? Because the kind of cleanliness which is required, the kind of cross checking which is to be done to ensure that all the pharma, nutra, or cosmetic products, whatever are being manufactured in the companies, they are up to the mark as far as the infection is concerned. Therefore, these companies also employ the medical lab technologies to find out whether the sterilization that has been done in the sterile or aseptic area is proper, on the walls, on the shelves, is, or even in the products, are there some microorganisms which are growing, and so on. Then of course, you can move on to complete your PhD or masters after you complete your undergraduation. Then we come to the masters in clinical microbiology. Herein, we are teaching the students about microorganisms and the infections caused by them. So infectious diseases are mainly focused in the MSc clinical microbiology. So these infectious diseases could be fungal in origin, they could be bacterial in origin, they could also be viral in origin. So all the techniques to diagnose these infections are taught to the MSc clinical microbiology students. And again, in this case also, we have 6 months internship in the hospitals or clinics. As far as the clinical biochemistry is concerned, here, mostly on the non-infectious diseases like diabetes, like hypercholesteremia, like blood pressure, and so on. So hypertension and everything, or even cardiac issues, because somewhere in this case there is no infection, but there are some biochemical parameters which are deranged. So MSc clinical biochemistry people will mainly focus on the non-infectious kind of disease profile. Then we'll talk about MSc Clinical Embryology. Now, this is particularly focused course which was introduced last year only to cater to the request or demand of the various hospitals, wherein they were trying to find the trained embryologists and they were not able to get them. So the situation was so bad that at times there were freelancing embryologists who were moving even from not just from one hospital to another, but even from one city to the other. And then the government came with the ART, that means Artificial Reproduction Technology Act. So ART now requires that anybody who works as an embryologist in any hospital or in any clinic must be having a proper degree to for that account. Therefore, there was a sudden and huge demand for MSc in clinical embryology. In this, let me share with you, we have an association or we have an MOU with the Cooper Surgical India Limited. In fact, they are the largest supplier of all the media or the chemicals or the equipment related to clinical embryology. So mainly the IVF, the in vitro fertilization is being taught, the techniques, the theory as well as the practical techniques are being taught in the master level course. And then they also need to proceed for their 6 months internship in the hospitals we are handling the IVF practice. So of course, you can see they can act as embryologists. After a certain period, they can act as senior embryologists. And as I shared with you, there are many people who are doing the freelancing kind of work. They can also go into sales and marketing also, because the hospitals, they need to counsel the parents who are undergoing IVF. It is not an easy thing. It requires a lot of physical input. It requires a lot of financial input, and it also requires a lot of psychological input. So whenever a patient comes and requests to undergo IVF, in vitro fertilization, they need to be counseled. That becomes a major job for the sales and marketing person, that they don't feel belittled, they don't feel anxious, and they're able to get the consulting quickly and in a manner that reassures them. Then, of course, apart from becoming a freelancer or apart from working as an embryologist, they can also move as trainers to the various institutes where embryologist training is going on. Then, of course, you can become a teacher like me. And then there is a lot of scope in research and development for all the 3 specializations of MLT. Then we come to the profession of pharmacy, pharmaceutical sciences. Here also, you must, this is the logo of PCI, which is very strongly displayed here. And this is the stamp you can see. So PCI is the Pharmacy Council of India. So children, let me share with you, if you are to act as a recognized pharmacist in India or abroad also, you need to complete your education from an institute which is recognized by Pharmacy Council of India. So before taking admission in any course related to pharmacy, please ask them, please ensure, either by looking at the website again or going to the website of PCI to find out whether the institute is approved by or not. The institute has to be approved by Pharmacy Council of India. If you have to go for any teaching job, or if you have to go for any kind of industrial job most of the times, and most importantly, if you want to open your own chemist shops. So here also we have 2 types of courses. We have Bachelor of Pharmacy course, which is 4 years long, and then we have Bachelors of Pharmacy lateral entry course, which, like the other lateral entries that I have explained to you, the people will get admission in the 2nd year. So this I have already shared with you. So the career prospects of a pharmacist are highly varied. They can become a community pharmacist, wherein you can have your own chemist shop also, whether it is the retail or it is the wholesale kind of shop. So therein you get ample opportunity to interact with the patients. Well, in fact, I have seen that many pharmacists in their chemist shops have started measurement of diabetes or measurement of BP also free of cost. So the patients feel very comfortable going there. Then they can also work as hospital pharmacist, as the name suggests, they will be mainly working in the hospital and catering to the IPD patients. IPD is basically the ward, the patients who are admitted into the hospital. So the hospital pharmacist, uh, let me share this with you. The hospital pharmacist advises the doctors on treating the inpatient department, wherein the patients are there. So just to ensure that the right kind of dosing is being done, each patient is being taken care of, the dose which goes into each of the patient is of the right nature and of the right amount. The hospital pharmacists are employed by all the hospitals, whether they are government or they are private. And then this is the most glamorous kind of job my children generally look at. Drug inspector is the person, who has all the power given by the government. Chemist shop, they can enter into any wholesale shop, they can enter into any pharma industry at any point of time, day or night, unannounced. So they have lots of powers because they are the custodians of the, any kind of malpractice which may happen with any pharma industry or any stakeholder. As you are all aware, many of the drugs are being misused or abused as habit forming drugs or addictive drugs. So drug inspectors have a lot of regulatory work to be done. They will ensure that the quality of the drugs is correct. If the manufacturer claims that it contains 99% of the drug, is 99% actually there? So they will withdraw the samples, they will send it to the lab and find out. And they also ensure that nothing harmful is being sold in the chemist shop, nothing harmful is being used in the industry, and so on. Then they can act as quality control associate in the various pharma industries. So in fact, quality control associate would be required in pharma, nutra, as well as cosmeceutical industry, because everywhere a very stringent quality control is required, indicating that whatever is the claim by the manufacturer, is it actually there? So quality control associate is again a very, very crucial job. Then we have clinical research people who are into the data collection, data mining, data processing, and then drawing very meaningful conclusions out of that data, to decide the direction in which the work should now be focused. Then you see formulation development is again a very important part. You will not be able to take paracetamol as such, you will not be able to take aspirin as powder. So the people who put these drugs into the formulation means dosage form, whether it is a tablet or injection or inhaler or a capsule or a gel or a cream. So these are the people who develop all these dosage forms, and they are known as formulation scientists. So they can get a job of formulation development. Then medical representatives, we all know the people who are responsible for, constantly educating the doctors. So medical representatives will go and not just, share that their product is good, they will also share the basic knowledge about that disease and about that drug. Then in the end, coming to that, their treatment is also very good. So then we have sales and marketing representatives, and somewhat similar to medical representative, marketing people are the people who will decide the strategy, when to launch a drug, where to launch a drug. If there is a drug for malaria, you will not launch it obviously in January, because there will be no mosquitoes. So these kind of decisions are taken by the marketing team. And then of course, scientific writers have a very strong role to play when they are teaching the doctors or they are teaching the other lay people also. They will create the data, and you might have seen, small papers folded multiple times in many of the inhalers, many of the injection boxes, many of the eye drops, ear drops also. So that information which comes in that paper is being prepared by a pharmacy graduate only, so they can become the scientific writers also. And then we have, various courses which are offered in the masters. Again, all these courses are recognized by the Pharmacy Council of India. So pharmaceutics people are going to focus more on formulation, developing a dosage form. Analysis people will be focusing more on the analytical techniques to find out whether the right kind of drug, whether the right amount of drug is there in the dosage form, and if there is any kind of degradation because of stability issues or anything, the product which is formed is also analyzed and ensured that it is not toxic. Then pharmaceutical chemistry, wherein you learn to synthesize the drugs and the excipients. Pharmacology, where you need to know about almost everything about a drug. And then pharmacy practice, which is completely clinically oriented. For M.Pharm in pharmacy practice children, let me share with you a very, very important information that we have a very strong tie-up with Christian Medical College Ludhiana. So all our pharmacy practice children are going to CMC Ludhiana during their second year, and the thesis topics which are given to them, the research topics which are given to them are prepared in consultation with the doctors from CMC, and they are being co-guided by the doctors from CMC. So one guide is from Lovely Professional University and the other guide is from the pharma, the hospital, the CMC. So this I've already shared. Chemistry. So career prospects for the chemistry person would be slightly different. This all will be the same. They will be getting more jobs in the bulk drug units. Bulk drug unit means if there are 10 companies who are preparing paracetamol tablets, all 10 of them will procure the paracetamol powder from a particular country, from a particular industry, which is known as the bulk drug unit. So they will be preparing the powder for, say, aspirin, for paracetamol, for nimesulide, for chloroquine, and so on. So the major part of the formulation, the active constituent or the drug, is manufactured by them, which is then taken by the formulation development units. Then pharmaceutical analysis I have already shared. So apart from the specific, analytical chemist job, wherein, the analysis of the prepared or being prepared kind of dosage forms is being done, that is taught to them, so they get this kind of job very, very easily and they are preferred for such jobs. Then masters of pharmacy in pharmacology, herein, the people, the children are going to work mainly on the animals. So it is the preclinical part of the profession. I'm sorry, there was an urgent issue. Yeah. So in pharmacology, we go for the preclinical testing. Preclinical testing means the same drugs which are eventually going to be tested in clinical trials on the human beings will first be tried on the animals. This is a protocol for by the government throughout the world that before we go for any human testing, we must before that check the effects on the animals, so that if there is any kind of toxic or hazardous effect, it should be very clear to us. Then for this, we have a very beautiful animal house wherein we have rats and rabbits and mice also, guinea pigs also. So this is approved by CPCSA, and it is an asset actually to have an animal house, and especially have the breeding facilities also, so that you can learn to work on the animals. Then pharmacy practice, I told you, this is the closest to the doctors. So they are the people who are going to counsel the patients, who are going to collect the data, who are going to indicate to the patients as well as doctors that this drug could have this side effect, this combination should not be taken, this combination of a drug with the food stuff should not be taken. So these are the people who are completely clinically oriented, and they talk one to one with the patients. So in this, I was sharing, we have a tie-up with, we have in fact a very strong tie-up with CMC Ludhiana, wherein the doctors in the hospital, they take the collaborative projects in the second year, research under the guidance of the doctor also, as well as the faculty in pharmacy department of LPU also. Then in the end, I'll come to the Ayurvedic pharmacy. In Ayurvedic pharmacy, we are all now worried about the side effects of the chemical drugs, synthetic drugs, and so on. And we saw the magic of Ayurvedic drugs during COVID, wherein the people who had very strong immunity because of the Ayurvedic, recommended lifestyle, they did not catch the infection also. So we are offering B pharmacy in Ayurveda, M pharmacy. So they have a similar kind of exposure as the B Farm in modern pharmacy. But apart from that, we focus specifically on the manufacturing of Ayurvedic drugs, analysis of Ayurvedic drugs, because analysis of Ayurvedic drugs is much more complicated as compared to the analysis of synthetic drugs, because therein, you have so many chemicals which are there in one particular plant drug. And then we teach the basic, will not be able to understand the formulations. And then coming to the modern part of Ayurvedic formulation, we also teach them the good manufacturing practices which need to be followed by the Ayurvedic pharma industry. So the career opportunities remain the same, but these children, they get preference in the Ayurvedic units like Baba Ramdev and so on. So for this, we have MOUs with, as you can see, number of, we have CMC, we have LSSDC, we have NIMS University, we have Univille, this is a university in Brazil, these are the industries. Eminent Physician is a company which, is basically looking at the pharmacist job profiles and so on. And these are a few projects. I've just, showcased a few products which have been prepared by our children. You can see these are the people who generally, some of the employers, some of the recruiters. So that's all from my side. I'll be happy to answer any questions. So over to the organizers.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for sharing your vision. And yes, ma'am, we have few queries from our attendees, so we'll take up those queries. So, ma'am, there is a query from a student, Gurmeher. She wants to know what is the scope of pharmaceutical sciences post-COVID, both in public and in private sector.
Yeah, so let me share with you, during COVID time, the shortage of the medical professionals was so much that even our final year children of pharmacy as well as physiotherapy, they were, taken by hospitals and they were paid 10,000 a month. So the shortage is so much, as you all know, that the number of doctors uh, per population is much less. So now the onus is shifting on to the pharmacists who are going to counsel the patients, who are going to tell the patients about how to take the medicines, when to take the medicines, and so on. So in the public sector also, and then because of the growing menace of drug addiction and so on, and misuse of drugs, the government is now putting many more, they are employing many more drug inspectors, and even the institutes have come up, the labs have come up, prepared by the government, constituted by the government, wherein we do the sampling for the various pharma industries by the government sector lab, so that we are able to find out if there is any breach or misconduct on the part of the manufacturer. So this is the scenario about government setup. Regarding the private setup, you all know that we were the people who supplied the entire world with the chloroquine. 2 years back, we were the people who supplied 14 countries with the vaccines, which were prepared in such a quick manner. So suddenly, the faith on the Indian industry has also increased at the global level. So many of the US-based companies are now giving us licenses to manufacture for them. So you see the scope for private as well as government or public sector has suddenly increased in the post-pandemic scenario because of the raised requirements.
Thank you
I
so
think
much.
that answers your question. Yeah.
Of course, ma'am. Definitely. Thank you so much, ma'am, for resolving the query of an attendee. And now we'll quickly move to our admission expert, Mr. Pankaj Vij, for the admission part of the university. So over to you, sir.
Right, I guess my screen is visible.
Yes, sir. It is.
Thank you. Thank you. So, thank you very much, Monica ma'am, for that very insightful presentation. The students must have got a lot of information regarding the allied medical sciences and the various programs that are being offered. So, my part of the job would be that I'll be discussing that if a student wants to know something about the fee structures, the eligibilities, and the scholarships, which once again is a very important part of academics. So I'll just give you a brief demo as to how a student can get to know about these basic things pertaining to programs such as the eligibility, the fee, the scholarship, and so on and so forth. So allow me to go ahead. I'll just go ahead and I'll talk about these things. All you need to do is go to lpu.in. So the students are requested to go to lpu.in. And if you want to search a specific program, go to admissions. In admissions, you can find a program of your interest. If you want to go in for a program which is an undergraduate program, you search in this section. If you want to go in for a program which is a postgraduate program, you go to this section. Say let's for instance, we want to know something about the B Pharmacy program. So I just go to after 12 undergraduate programs and the regular program. This B Pharmacy is a simple regular program. So I just click it over here and then we move on to the next screen wherein we get the various disciplines in which we are running the undergraduate programs. And as soon as we reach that particular page, we will search for the desired discipline. For example, over here, it is pharmaceutical science. So I click it over here. So in pharmaceutical science, after 12, we are running a program called B Pharmacy. So I click it on B Pharmacy. There we go. And as soon as I go to B Pharmacy, I just scroll down a little bit. B Pharmacy program, it's a 4-year program having a total of 8 semesters in it. And there comes the eligibility criteria. The eligibility criteria is something like this: pass with 60% marks in aggregate in 12th with English, physics, chemistry, and bio or mathematics. That means a medical and a non-medical student both are eligible to do this particular program, or equivalent subject to qualifying LPNS. Now, there's a prerequisite when it comes to B Pharmacy. A student should qualify our test, which is lovely Professional University National Entrance and Scholarship Test. So, a student has to qualify this particular test. If a student qualifies this test, only then he or she would be able to take admission in the program or not. But if the student scores good in it, then apart from eligibility, the test will also provide him a scholarship. Let's now know about the fee structure of the program. In order to know the fee structure of any program of your desire, you just search, you go follow this path, go to the eligibility, and thereafter you go on the top, which is fee, and you just click it over here, and the page takes you to the fee structure of the program. The fee structure of the program is 1,20,000 per semester. Now, what kind of scholarships we are offering on it? If a student has got 80 to 89.99% of marks in 12th standard, or is amongst the category 3 of our LPNS exam, then there's an 18% scholarship and the fee goes down to 98,400 per semester. If a student has 90 to 94.99% of marks in 12th standard, or the student is in category 2 of our LPNS exam, there's a 28% scholarship and the fee goes down to 86,400 per semester. Moreover, if a student has 95 or above percentage of marks in the 12th standard, or is in the category 1 of our LPNS exam, there is a 38% scholarship and the fee goes down to 74,400. It is worth mentioning over here, my dear students, that these scholarships, once administered, remain the same way for the next 4 years. So if you get these scholarships, then they will remain the same way throughout the course of the program. God forbid, if you happen to maybe get a backlog, or you're not able to clear a single exam in a semester, though we never want that you should do that. But in case you're not feeling well or something like that, and you are not able to clear a single exam in a semester, then don't worry, your scholarship will not wither away, it will remain intact. Moving on, there are some other scholarships that we are offering in this particular program. You need to go to the next tab and you just click it over here, and these are some other scholarships that you are getting. If a student has appeared for the NEET exam, then we are giving scholarship on the basis of NEET exam as well. Somebody lies in this rank range, that is 18% scholarship. Ranks of this range 28%, 75,000 or above, it's 38% scholarship that the student is getting. So scholarships are on the basis of NEET as well. A few other scholarships. These are scholarships on the basis of innovation and startup. Somebody's done extremely well, something innovative, something the person has entrepreneurship skills in him. So somebody's done good in it. We have got scholarships on the basis of that as well. And then we have got financial aid. That means if some students' parents are working with the armed forces or central armed military, paramilitary, or military forces, then we are also providing financial aid to such students. Financial aid basically means there would be a slash in the fee structure, some kind of a tuition fee waiver would be provided to the student. So these are the scholarships that are being offered in the program. And we were talking about the B Pharmacy program. Similarly, you can find other programs of your interest. You can always talk to our experts. You can talk to our experts. You can talk to our admission counselors and get to know about the program of your interest. The numbers are there on your screen. This is the physical address of the university. And for general inquiries or related to admissions, you can call these numbers like 01824517000 or 01824404404. So you can just call these numbers, or you can always visit us on lpu.in. You can write to us on admissions@lpu.co.in for national students. That will be the email ID. So you can always talk to us, you can always write to us, or you can visit us on lpu.in. I guess the information provided by me would have been of interest to you. That's all from my side. Over to you, Ruby.
Thank you so much, sir, for the detailed information about the admission part. And with this, we'll conclude today's webinar. So thank you so much, experts. Your years of research, your depth of understanding the topic, and your ability to present the topic in such an interesting way produced one of the most wonderful afternoons for all the attendees. So on behalf of all the attendees of this webinar, I want to thank you for your insightful presentation, and hopefully the attendees found this webinar to be helpful and will be able to utilize the information provided to take better decisions regarding admission. So attendees, thank you so much. I enjoyed bringing this session to you, and I hope you enjoyed listening to it as much. So until next time, I, Ruby Gill, sign off.